Alright, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to HVAC lesson number 6, which is brazing refrigerant lines. Now, unfortunately, I will not be able to do a demonstration because I do not have my acetylene torch on me, I do not have my nitrogen on me, and also I do not have my recovery tank with me at this time. So we'll have to save the demonstration for when I'm at Tech, where I can do a hands-on demo to show you how to braze. But anyway, I will explain how to braze in this video here. So this will be a part 6. This will be a video 6A, which is explanation of brazing refrigerant lines. So anyway, first of all, first thing you want to do when you're brazing refrigerant lines is you want to have your nitrogen flowing through the system at about 3 cubic feet per minute. Because if you put too much nitrogen through the system, then it could also become a health hazard, which you do not want that. So we usually keep it about 3 cubic feet per minute, especially since, that's a low pressure. It will not cause any problems as long as you know what you're doing. So that's the first step before you start brazing, is to make sure you have an open part on the system, like an open port, de-brazed, previously de-brazed refrigerant line. Or, but the very first thing you want to do before you even start with your nitrogen is you want to recover the freon. So this is the first part, is you want to recover the refrigerant charge from the appliance. So even if it's like you're working on a vintage window unit like this one, or if you're working on a central air conditioner, which I already did a couple of those today. I had to do 2 centrals this afternoon. So I always keep my equipment at a friend's house. That way, it's safe in case if something should happen. So anyway, he keeps a good eye on it for me. So anyway. So first things first, before you start brazing, is you want to recover the refrigerant from the refrigeration system. So whether it's an air conditioner, whether it's a refrigeration appliance, you always want to make sure that you take the refrigerant out first. Now, do not cut a hole and let it into the atmosphere, as it is illegal to release HCFCs. It's illegal to release R22 or other hazardous refrigerants into the atmosphere. So I do not recommend you doing that. Just have your recovery tank on you. Also have your vacuum pump. And just make sure that you have everything you need in order to safely remove the refrigerant from the system. So then the second thing the first thing, remove the refrigerant charge using your recovery pump and recovery tank. Second thing you want to do is to make sure that you have your nitrogen tank ready for when you're ready to start debrazing. Like if you're doing a compressor change out or if you're doing anything like that, you want to make sure that you're all prepared and ready to go. So like have your nitrogen ready, have your acetylene torch ready. So make sure you have all your equipment you need is the second thing you want to do before you start brazing, is to make sure you have all the equipment you need, such as heat cloth, or if you do not have a heat cloth, you can also use a regular cloth or a rag moistened with water. Now, obviously, do not use a rag that's been contaminated with oil or any kind of combustible, flammable fuel, as in doing that will result in a very dangerous situation. So just use water, as it is the safest method to use. But first, make sure your rag is not contaminated with anything flammable. Because as you braze, you're working with a hot acetylene torch, which could be a fire hazard if your rag has been contaminated with oil or any other kind of flammable source that could potentially be a fire hazard. So make sure you grab a nice clean rag and make sure that you moisten it with water. You can also use a spray bottle too. Like if you have a spray bottle, just put some water in it and spray the cloth as you work. Now don't do it while you're brazing because it may cause a problem. But do it before, or, if you shut your torch off or something, to re-moisten your cloth. Now, if you obviously have a heat cloth, then you don't have to worry, because those are designed to handle that much heat. But if you have a cloth that's not designed for it, make sure you moisten it with cold water or something like that at least something cold to make sure, as long as it's not a fuel source that could potentially be a fire hazard. So I probably will say a lot throughout the video, because I just can't emphasize enough how dangerous it is to use a contaminated rag during brazing, especially with how hot those acetylene torches get. So anyway, we got the second part covered, is have all your equipment ready, such as your, like I said before, make sure you have your nitrogen ready, and also make sure you have a heat cloth, or if you do not have a heat cloth, make sure you have a rag moistened with water and it's not contaminated. So a third thing you want to do is you want to have your acetylene torch ready, because you are going to need your acetylene torch to melt the previous braze that was used to braze the pipes together. So you definitely want to make sure that you have your acetylene torch ready, and also make sure that you have your heat cloth, like I said before. So next thing, make sure you have the right kind of torch. Do not use an oxyacetylene torch, as those are designed for cutting metal, like cutting rails, or any kind of other kind of thick metal that you need to be able to cut with heat. So you want to just use a plain acetylene torch, because the acetylene torch is designed for brazing, and the acetylene will not cut through the pipe like oxyacetylene cuts through metal. So anyway, next thing you want to do is, as soon as you start brazing, you want to get the pipe to the right temperature, because if you do not get the pipe to the right temperature when you're brazing, like if you get it too hot, it's going to go all over the place. But if you don't get it hot enough, then it will cause a problem. And that's why I advise you guys to make sure you get the pipe cherry red hot when you're brazing, because cherry red hot is the right temperature for the braze that I normally use, which contains 15% silver. So anyway, like I said, use the correct kind of torch. The next thing you want to do before you even turn on your torch is get the nitrogen flowing through the system, because you want to have at least 3 cubic feet per minute of nitrogen, as the nitrogen cleans out the inside of the pipe while you're brazing. So it keeps the inside of the pipe clean and also free of contaminants. So the next thing that you want to do is, when you are brazing, do not put the acetylene torch right near your hand, as in doing so is extremely dangerous. So do not do that. Make sure you keep the acetylene torch a safe distance away from your hand, or have a heat cloth as a barrier to protect your hand during debrazing. Because when you go to pull that refrigerant line off, it's going to want to come right off, and it's going to be super hot. So you want to have heat-proof gloves to protect your hands, or heavy-duty or heat-resistant gloves to protect your hands while you're working with the hot refrigerant lines, because the acetylene will get the pipe pretty hot, up to cherry red hot, in order to melt the braze. So you just want to be super careful when you're brazing, because you never know what could happen. You could even potentially cause an accidental failure. So I do not advise. So if you are inexperienced, or if you don't know how to braze, please ask somebody professional who is certified to teach you. Because I would rather you guys just stay safe when doing this, because brazing can also be very dangerous along with useful. So anyway, I hope you guys found this video helpful. We had just explained how the brazing works. It's the same procedure as always. And thank you guys for watching this video, and we'll see you in lesson number 7. Which lesson number 7 so we already covered lesson 1, how an air conditioner works. Lesson 7 will be how an air conditioner compressor works. So starting in lesson 7, we're going to dive down deep into an air conditioning system, with number 7 being the compressor, number 8 being the condenser, number 9 being the evaporator and suction line, and 10 being the fans. So there's a little heads up for you there. Lesson 7 will be the compressor, number 8 will be the condenser, number 9 is the evaporator and suction line, and number 10 is the fans. So anyway, thank you guys very much for watching this video. I hope you guys found this useful, and we'll see you in lesson 7, which is HVAC lesson number 7, the compressor.